Hello friends, today we are going to studying about the population growth in ecology. Already we have studied about the ecology. It came from the Greek words oikos and logos, means habitats and the organisms. A study of an organism with their own environment. Here the population growths consists of several things. What are the things are here we are going to study here. Mortality, natality, immigration, means in the migration, immigrations are there in the process governing growth of population. Growth models, a time lags also are present. From introduction onwards we can see this population growth. Now populations are dynamic entities. The properties of populations change all the time, and the rate of change can vary from very low to high. Even in populations that do not change in density, the individuals change and are replaced. They take birth, grow, reproduce, and die. The changes are taking place during lifespan of individuals are not the same for all. The performance and behavior changes more when they are in groups. The growth of a population is dependent on many such changes. A process like natality, mortality, immigration and emigrations are direct causes for changes in the population dimension, compositions and dynamics. Studying changes in populations, dimensions help in predicting future changes in population sizes and growth rates. As the response varies with a species, these studies help in predicting future compositional changes in community structure. Population growth studies of invasive and pathogenic species help in their management and eradication. Population growth studies help in predicting a size of a population to be achieved in a due course of time. So here we are going to see about a process governing growth of population. The growth depends upon four important processes, which are natality, mortality, immigration and emigration. Among the four governing processes of population growth, natality and mortality are related to life history strategies, while immigration and emigration are dispersal movement. So natality, it is the birth rate and is the prime factor leading to addition of new individual to the population. It is also known as fecundity. The birth rate of population is again influenced by various factors like type of species, environmental constraints or conditions, and the number of reproducible individuals. It is an expression of the production of new individuals in the population. Natality is of two types: absolute natality or in the realized natality. So absolute natality or potential natality or physiological natality, the maximum number of individuals that can be theoretically produced per individuals under ideal environmental conditions is called as absolute natality. It is constant for a given population and expresses its biological limit. The absolute natality is calculated under conditions when there is no constraints upon the process. wild populations hardly reach this limit. But realized natality or ecological natality, the amount of successful reproduction which actually takes place and due course of time is known as realized natality. It's influenced by environmental conditions, resource availability, and density of populations. The natality may also be expressed as a specific natality that refers to population's increase under specific conditions. It is not constant for a given populations. Natality rate is expressed in two ways: crude birth rate and specific birth rate. Crude birth rate expresses a total population's growth per unit time, while a specific birth rate is in relation to a specific criteria. Specific birth rate is used in calculating a natality rate in animal populations, where it is expressed as an age specific schedule of births. This is done by counting number of and age classes of females present in a population. By calculating a specific birth rate, the results are seen an age specific schedule of births. That is, the number of offspring produced per unit time by females in different age classes. It's also referred as fecundity in demographic studies, the expression of natality. N, it's mentioning about the total population or only the reproductive part of the population. And new individuals added to the populations and time mentioned. In plant populations, determining natality is more difficult because various factors make it difficult to measure. Fluctuations in quantity of seed production, year to year, and age class to the age class are such factors. Dormancy and unsuccessful germinations also make it difficult to get a clear climate of natality in plant populations. Mortality, it refers to the death of individual in a population and is responsible for decrease in size of population. It is also two types: a minimum mortality or ecological mortality. The minimum mortality also known as physiological mortality, a physiological longevity, when the individuals of the species attain full maturity and die according to their lifespan. The mortality is described a physiological mortality. Ecological mortality or realized mortality, when the death rate is influenced by various factors like unfavorable conditions, lack of resources, competitions, or any epidemic. The mortality rate may increase and is known as realized mortality. Natality and mortality both are species specific, but ultimate outcomes is influenced by other pressure also. There are intrinsic and extrinsic factors that control natural mortality rates, and these factors are linked with individual metabolism. Immigration and emigration. It is the movement of a new one into a population leading to increase in population size. And emigration, it is the movement of offsprings out of population leading to decrease in population size. These processes are very dominant and can be easily calculated for animals population, while in case of plant populations, these processes are not distinctly visible. In plant population, seeds are propagated. Disposal play an important role in this process, especially in emigration. The influence can be expressed. Here you can see this. In a population, a new individual if added, we can call it here natality. And from the populations, the organisms moves out, means dies. The number of organism goes out, so we can call it here mortality. And immigration means a new individual from one population into this for this population comes here, we can call it here immigration. And immigration means from this population it moves to other population, that is called the immigration. So the nt is equal to no b minus d plus I minus c. From this formula we can calculate it. The n0, the population size at some arbitrary starting time, time 0, and nt, the population size at some future time. The b word mentioning the birth rate, natality, and the d word mention death rate, mortality. I for immigration and E for emigration. So in this natality, mortality, immigration, emigrations, the growth can be calculated. Growth models also. Two most significant models of population growth based on reproduction of organism are exponential and logistic models. A farm is of a situation where resources are essentially unlimited and therefore individuals do not compete. That is, for situations where there are limited resources and therefore numbers of population must compete for this resource. Exponential model is associated with the name of Thomas Robert Malthus 1766 to 1834, who first realized that any species can potentially increase in numbers according to a geometric series. Main parameters to be considered are n, the population size, n0, the population size at starting time, nt, the population size at some future time, when the ratio of the population size into adjacent time periods. For an example, t is equal to 0 and t is equal to 1 is taken, we obtain the factor by which the population increase during the 1 unit of time. So likewise, we can see this. And what is the time lags? The logistic equation suggests that the populations functions as a system which is regulated by positive and negative feedback. The positive feedback is mostly by resources and they stimulate the growth, while the negative feedback is brought about by competition. As the n approaches k, the density dependency works. Even these feedbacks do not work smoothly, and many a times k is not achieved, and this occurs because of certain lags. So this is also two important lags consist: reaction time lag, reproductive time lag, and like that. The reaction and reproductive time lag is given detailed about the species. The next class we can see this.